This is Call My Bluff with the George Sanders of the panel game. Frank Muir.
My first guest really needs no introduction, but how nice for me to be able to say that we have back on the programme Angela Rippon. And my number two is an old colleague from radio days, and here, but without Archie Andrews, is Peter Brough.
And the minstrel boy himself, Patrick Campbell.
And my first guest has been a dear little bird for years and years and years. One of the liver birds, Nerys Hughes. And my other plumber's assistant is the man that knows everything. He acts, directs, talks, thinks. He's a philosopher. Well, it's just Jonathan Miller, really. It's the hard part.
Now, as you know, the ritual begins with me doing that, and I get a word, and it's Malagatoon on this occasion. Frank Muir and his team will define this word three different ways. Two of those definitions are false. One is true. That's the one that the other team tries to find. So what about this word, Frank?
Well, when Dr. Miller and I, in our various ways, carve something up, I a joint, Dr. Miller, other things, there is a dexterity in the way we do it, which is lovely. If you hack it away, hack at it, and the joint or the bird ends up a dreadful mess, that's a Malagatoon. If you want to achieve a Malagatoon, the thing to do is to go on a picnic with a cold chicken and carve it with a blunt penknife.
Right, Peter Brough.
A Malagatoon is the fruit of a union between a peach and a quince. Now, the peach, of course, being grafted onto the quince, and not vice versa, you follow me? Now, this marriage produces a sweet-tasting globe of delicate yellow texture with a velvety skin, Patrick. Now, it can be, yes, it can be. It can be, and some insist, and I think you would be among them, that it should be pickled in brandy.
Now it's Angela Rippon, yes.
A Malagatoon is someone really best to be avoided if you should ever happen to take a stroll in Burma. Because a Malagatoon is the Burmese version of a mugger. He's a local robber who would get done up in a skin, like a tiger skin or some other wild animal. And the idea is that he would jump out at his victim and hope to terrorize him into dropping all his valuables and running off into the night.
So it's a very theatrical sort of robber. It's a joint that's been hacked about, and it's the fruit of the quince and the peach. And Patrick is going to make a choice.
Well, we rather think, it's my own personal opinion, that a mugger that goes to all the trouble to rent a tiger skin to put on, he's in a big way of business, isn't he? Dubious.
I also liked Angela's sober fluency, too, which seemed to me to bespeak
You
confidence
better tell
in the
Patrick
subject.
that.
Yes.
He'll enjoy
This is my turn, you mind?
I'm just colouring it.
This team is filled with captains, to my amazement.
What?
This team is filled with captains. Well, I got all disturbed.
Don't let it upset you, my dear man. Jonathan, yes,
Is it a
you'll be
peach
quiet.
having a quince or a quince having a peach? It's an absurd theory that... Oh, I think it's bad carving. No, But he's never done any surgery at all.
Do what Jonathan told you to do. Choose which one.
Now he's trying to unnerve.
It's bad carving.
Yes.
You think it's bad carving? Well, Frank, you spoke about bad carving. I don't know whether you know about it or not, but anyway, was it true?
Jumble
or was
rubbish
it
anyway.
a bluff? Was it? Ah! Jonathan Miller will get beaten about the head after this, I'll tell you for nothing. Now, who gave the true definition of that word, mulligatoon?
Pension.
Yes, indeed, absolutely, there it is. You might indeed have known that a mulligatoon is the product of a quince and a thing, a peach. Lata is the next one, but I dare say it's pronounced many a different way. Patrick.
It's pronounced halata.
Aha.
Welsh.
It's a lively dance. Danced by the Incas of Peru. That's why it's called a halata. Not Welsh, not Pontypridd, but it's kind of Inca work. A dance not of a kind of particular exuberance or happiness, not a war dance, but it's a kind of useful dance, because if you've got a load of cut wheat on the floor, this is the time for the halata to break out, because the pounding of the feet.
Oh, yeah.
You get a loaf of bread pretty well, instantaneously.
17 pence?
That's what it is.
You're
So
chuffing.
now Jonathan Miller has a go.
Well, it's certainly an outbreak of some sort, but it's more pathological than that, really. If you ever visit Indonesia or Java, you will sometimes see an outbreak of lata, which is, in fact, an outbreak of hysterical behaviour involving rather complex involuntary movements. It's a species, really, of Sumatran hysteria, really, and very serious and very unpleasant for those who witness it and, indeed, those who see it.
We get a bit of that. We get a bit of that here from time to time. Nerys, your go.
Yes, well, this is pronounced la-ta, like that. And it's a sort of whitish honey, really, is the best way to describe it. And,
All honey is whitish.
oh, no, you can get a pretty deep Welsh yellow one.
True.
Yes. All right, Frank?
Expunge my
this
remark
one...
from the record.
Please.
Yes, well, this one is a whitish, sweetish substance, and it's found usually on eucalyptus trees in Australia, secreted by a caterpillar. And for ages and ages now, the Aborigines have sort of dried it out and let it go all sticky and gooey and used it for sweetening whatever they want to drink.
Right. Right, sort of kind of caterpillar honey. It's Javanese or thereabouts hysteria, and it's a very lively Inca dance, Frank, is what it is. So choose, you will.
We're in agreement, but not quite.
On the same word.
Don't mind. I'm sorry.
I'm working you with my foot.
I've just put INCA here. If an Inca was canonized, he'd be a stinker, wouldn't he? Inca dance, Sumatran hysteria. And right out of the blue, nothing to do with Lata, Incas or anything, we get honey. So I think it's the odd man out. I think it's honey. Nerys. How wrong
yeah,
am
she
I?
said that. True or bluff, Nerys? Tell us.
A wicked face.
Yeah. Who gave the true definition of that word? It's there.
I think the professor here has it. Yes. Yes, sir.
Nice bit of acting there. It's Javanese hysteria. Javanese hysteria. 1-1. And we get another word, skelat, and it's Peter Brough to have a go.
Thank you, sir. Now, a skellet was a small, high-toned handbell, once was tinkled for ecclesiastical purposes. Now, it was usually to be found in the hand of the bellman whose job it was to march around monasteries and the like. You follow me, Patrick? ding-donging a summons that called the faithful to prayer.
But don't pick on me all the time.
But you're so nice.
So, now, Angela, you'll go.
A skelat is a small stone hut that would be built by Orkney Islanders in a particularly windy site. Now, they didn't want to live there. They want to build this hut so that they can cure their fish and their meat in it. And what they would do is build the little hut without any mortar to bind the bricks together, but allow the wind to pass through the bricks so that it would help to cure and dry the meat and the fish within.
Frank Muir has a turn.
A skeleton is pretty. A skeleton. It's a blue roofing slate, which is found in quarries near Bridlington. Well, excuse the name dropping. And they had to, when they were restoring York Minster, they had to reopen this particular blue slate quarry in order to get the right sort of blue slate therefrom. Skellet, it's a terribly well-known word, near Bridlington.
So it's a sort of ecclesiastical handbell rung in monasteries. It's an Orkney stone hut, and it's slate from, yes, Bridlington. Jonathan.
Well, I think that the ecclesiastical handbell just simply sounds like something which is plucked out of the air anyway, and also the blue roofing slate sounds too specifically related to Bridlington and for no reason whatever. And I think there's a rather pleasant authenticity about the notion of the Orkney hut. There are, in fact, such huts through which wind blows, through holes, and through which people cure things, and it simply has the sound of that type of language.
So, you're picking that, Jonathan?
I'm picking the Orkney hut. I mean, I don't know how you feel about it.
No, it's too late for him to bother really to feel about it.
Oh, I see.
No, not now. You nearly plumped. But anyway, you're having plumped. Angela, true or bluff?
It's a bluff, isn't it?
Awfully so.
Yeah! You didn't think she could tease, but she can. Now, who gave the true definition? It's there.
Again?
Handbell heard all the time in monasteries. Now you have that word, warble, I suppose it's called. Jonathan Miller defines it.
Well, if you're a horse, I suppose warbles is what you fear more than anything else, really. It's a large sore which appears under the saddle due to the repeated pressure of a rider on the saddle, and it can drive a horse berserk, and it can indeed even induce lata in the horse.
Yeah, Javanese horse, of course. Yeah, who comes next? Yes, Nerys.
Well, warble, Frank, is a very old word, actually.
Oh.
You may not have heard of it, but warble is an old word for, well, thieves used to call each other warbles if they told on each other. You know, like Kojak would say, if they grasped, man, or, I'm not very good with the American accent, or to sing like a canary, or that sort of thing. And the tradition today in Westminster School is still to call a sneak a willy warbler.
Ooh.
Yes.
Didn't go there.
Now, Patrick has a go.
Warble, of course, is a verb. You can say to warble. But to warble means to rotate, pardon. Rotate 360 degrees. You go round and round, you whirl round and round if you're warbling. Now you can have a whirlwind that warbles. You can have 2 or 3 or many more Scotsmen warbling, doing Highland flings. You can even find a warble in the bath, because the way that the water leaves the bath is warbling.
Yes.
Dervish. You forgot dervish. The warbling dervish.
I forgot nothing.
So it's to sort of sneak or peach or grass. It's to rotate, and it's a saw underneath the saddle on a horse. So, Peter, your go.
So, well, Nerys. Thieves. Kojak. Who loves you, baby? Jonathan and his horse. And Patrick with his... It's that mischievous Irish twinkle that gets me. Yes, I think I must go for Patrick.
Go for Patrick, then. He said it was to rotate, and he must own up now. He must say whether it's true or bluff.
I left my mischievous Irish twinkle at home 30 years ago.
I'm afraid you've doused that Irish twinkle for good there.
I'm sorry.
Anyway, there you have it. That's what it means to rotate, go round, whether of person or thing. And the next word is barwood, and Angela will define it.
Well, barwood, it's rather obvious, actually. Barwood is a name given to sections or bars of wood, sawn off into square sections rather like ingots of gold or iron. Probably the best-known barwood is a redwood that comes from the Gabon area of Western Africa. And it's used for ramrods and, as any musician will tell you, for making bows for violins.
Gosh.
Yep, well, Frank, it's your turn.
Barwood is an old military term used in India for extra pay given to Indian regiments when they're on a campaign. The Indian regiments at the Battle of Plessis would have copped a barwood with a luck. And it was named after Sir Camden Barwood. Presumably, he was a paymaster, presumably because he was the first one to screw the money out of the authorities.
Yes.
Peter Brough.
Barwood. One of the nicest words we have tonight. An item of American agricultural machinery was first used by the Mormons in Utah. Johnny Miller told me that. It consists of a large spiked roller which was towed or pushed by hordes of the faithful.
Yes, well, so am I. This spike roller, it's a spike roller. Oh, yeah, spike roller, towed by the faithful. It's a bar of timber.
Oh, a holy roller.
Pushed, sorry. Not pulled, pushed by the faithful. And it's extra pay for Indian soldiers or thereabouts. Nerys.
What do you think, team? Well,
She's
I
not
don't
even
know.
listening.
I don't know if I'll ever believe the news again. She's so convincing about absolutely everything. I mean, honestly, you're so sincere, Angela.
Sincere.
What?
Oh, come.
Oh, yes, sorry. Well, I think
I've got
that
an
it is...
honest face, ma'am.
Yes, you have, but somehow you come out dishonest, Frank. I don't know what it is. I think that it's Peter again.
You mean you don't want to dispose of the two, you don't really, I mean, you... No, I can see you've spent enough time doing it. Peter, you did say it was a spiked roller. Pushed, not pulled.
Yes, that's correct.
By the faith. True or bluff?
Must be pushed. Must be. But I'm afraid that you...
Oh, goodness.
Neither push nor pulled, but then now we need to know who gave the true definition. There is a true definition. Here it comes. 1, 2, 3, go.
Sorry. To be sincere. No, you were sincere.
She was indeed sincere. A bar wood is a bar of timber. 4-1, goodness me. Now here's an interesting word. Watu. Yes, well, you know, I don't know how they say it. Nerys Hughes.
Well, a wutu is a little tiny, drab little bird. It's got grey plumage and it's a pathetic little thing, really, and it flutters around in South Africa eating fruit flies. Yes, it's really quite a sad little bit of the game, this. And in English-speaking parts of Natal, it's probably known as a 28, because that's what it sounds like when it's whirring around. It sort of sounds 28, 28, 28.
Very good.
Yeah, that was good. And now it's Patrick's turn.
And Watu is a Canadian lumberjack's floating mobile home for one or more Canadian lumberjacks.
Oh, no.
Round about 100-foot square, with cookhouse, drawing room, sleeping accommodation, and of course no need for, by the word convenience, is seen that they're surrounded by the river, living in the Wattoon.
Now it's Jonathan Miller's go.
In fact, there's a concealed hyphen involved here, in fact. There are two words have come together. It's an obsolete usage. It's watto, wilt thou, would you. It's simply a form that we don't use now.
I'm not surprised.
So it's really two words for the price of one. Right?
Yeah, it sort of glided together, glided together. It means will you, or that, would you. I mean, it's a lumberjack's raft, and it's a South African bird. Eats fruit flies. Angela.
Well, I was most impressed, Nerys, by your impersonation of Percy Edwards. I think that was pretty good. But not convinced. No. Lumberjack's house, no, they wouldn't bother to call it anything. I think they'd just sort of stick up a tent on a few old logs, wouldn't they? I think it was wilt thou. Wilt thou?
You do? Well, that was Jonathan, yes. Was he telling the truth? True or bluff? Well done. Did really mean, would-thou. Seems unlikely, but it's true nonetheless. Outfit is the next word. Frank Muir defines outfit.
You go in the morning to say good morning to your horse, eh? And instead of it being jaunty and whinnying, it's sort of hanging its head in a disconsolate fashion over its loose box. A very glum horse. Why? It's off its food. So what do? What do? You give it an all-fit. Now bear with me. You give it an all-fit, which is a kind of pick-me-up appetizer for an horse. And you make an all-fit. One recipe for an all-fit would be breadcrumbs, bit of cinnamon, bit of nutmeg, dried hop leaves, moistened and rolled round with beer.
Sounds nice.
All-fit.
Right. Too good for horses, really.
Absolutely.
Who comes next? Yes, Peter.
Oh, yeah, right. You'll love this one. Allfit. Now, Allfit was a cauldron of scalding water, which about 1,000 years ago, a suspected person was cordially invited to plunge his arm into. Now, thus by a simple process of logic, logic sometimes used today by the Inland Revenue, if a person was seriously burned, the accused was guilty. If unburned, not guilty.
Right, now, Angela.
Well, an allfit is a surgical instrument. Now, many people think that it was probably invented by Hippocrates. It was used for setting or reducing the pain on a dislocated shoulder. No one living has obviously ever seen one because they've rather gone out of fashion nowadays, but it was thought to be an L-shaped piece of wood with two large wooden screws that were used in much the same way as a trouser press.
So it's something you perk up a horse's appetite with in the morning. It's a boiling cauldron. Someone has to put his arm in to see if he's guilty or not, and it's a sort of surgical clamp device. Patrick.
I've got a mind filled with damp air up on this one. All horses look glum hanging over the alphabet. Plunging your arm into boiling water and prepare to
It's a painful one, this, isn't it?
agony. A trouser press to keep a broken shoulder together.
Oh.
I believe it's little medicine for horses. It's about time we got one right, so let us see it, lad.
Well, now, it was Frank who told you all that stuff about the horse. True or bluff?
Oh, that's it.
He looks very excited. If he were Javanese, we'd know what he was suffering from. But who gave the true definition then? Someone's got to have it. It's there. Good Lord!
Again.
Cauldron of boiling water, for the purposes Peter Brough described. 6-1. 6-1. Trail baston is the next word, and Patrick Campbell defines it.
A trail baston, it's a kind of a combination of French and English, but it's a kind of rebellious grape. Normally, if one can use such a word in these difficult times, normally, grapes grow in bunches, but not the trail baston. Bunches of these grapes, they grow much more like melons, long cylindrical grapes. I mean, not cylindrical. I mean, the bunches are cylindrical, like melons, but the trouble with the trail baston is the grapes inside, they don't get the sun, and they don't ripen.
They wouldn't, would they?
Some of them do from time to time, but not always.
Now it's Jonathan Miller's go, and if we fairly buck up, we might get another word in. Don't know whether you want one, but...
Not a lot.
On those rare occasions when you're trying to straighten out the grinding wheel of a mill, you employ a trail baston in order to align yourself down the axle. And then you slip the axle out over the trail baston, and the thing then grinds evenly by having been aligned correctly. I mean, if that's what you want.
Now, Nerys, you tell us.
Well, a trail baston. You've got to pronounce it like that. It was an evil doer, a baddie, actually. In the 13th century, when Edward I is away fighting his wars, they go pillaging and fighting and stirring up trouble. An absolute baddie, a bit like football fans now, really.
So it's a hooligan from those days. It's a very odd sort of grapevine, and it's advice for getting mill wheels on straight or thereabouts. Frank?
Why would you want to align a mill wheel?
Well...
you
might.
Rebellious grape, I think, is a tasteful load of rubbish. I'm sure one would have trail baston. No, I don't think so. Sure, Nerys was interesting.
Am I?
Always.
Thank you.
So we'll go for the mill wheel aligner.
Straight edge, of which Jonathan so succinctly spoke true of Bluff.
Oh, keep your trail baston on
What on earth would you want to keep it straight or quite right? Who gave the true definition?
Fascinating little there.
So, trail baston is a 13th century, I think she said, hooligan, and that's true. So you were also deliciously slow that we can't get another word in. So I have to draw stumps now. Score standing 2-6. Frank Muir's team has won. So we'll put a few more splints around the walking wounded from the OED next week, I don't doubt. Until then, we'll say good night, beginning with Peter Brough, Jonathan Miller, Angela Rippon, Nerys Hughes,
Night.
Frank Muir,
Good night.
Patrick Campbell, good night, and goodbye. Welcome you to call my bluff the thinking man's bingo. featuring Patrick Campbell.
Good evening. And since last week, I have kept in my little personal cage my own little liver bird, Nerys Hughes.
Hello.
And the finest mind the world has ever seen, apart from last week, Dr. Jonathan Miller.
And the man who never looks grave at a pun, Frank Muir.
Thank you. And my first guest is that really splendid liar, which is terribly worrying, Angela Rippon. And my second guest is Archie Andrews' best friend, Peter Brough.
Lo, a word appears, or two. Well, there you are. It's a very amusing word, or pair of words. Twitterbit.
Liver bird.
Oh, yes. I wish I'd thought of that. Anyway, whether I did or not, Patrick Campbell and his team will define Twitterbit 3 different ways. 2 of the definitions are false, one's true. That's the one that Frank and co are going to try and pick out. So, Patrick, what do you make of this, Twitterbit?
The Twitterbit is the anglicised version of the Maori name for the horn gramophone. Because in the Maori language, which goes tuata bait, which means in Maori, box from which comes animal noises.
Paleface speak with forked tongue. Jonathan Miller now.
Well, when you're making a scissors, one of the more important aspects of the task is to make sure that the 2 parts come together. Otherwise, they're 2 knives or daggers. And what you have to do is to screw them together, and you have to use a Twitterbit in order to sink the screw into the cavity between the 2, so that you hinge them, and you screw in the Twitterbit into the little concavity, which takes the screw head.
Right, I wonder what now Nerys Hughes has to tell us.
Well, it's a Scottish word, actually, and it's a Scottish scolding match between 2 people where it's very free-flowing, all this talk of verbal disagreement. And I can quote you direct here from John Buchan's Hunting Tower. This is the usage of the word, you see, all right? "Wait now," said Mrs. McPhee. "Maybe a wee Twitterbit with the old housekeeper might do some good."
It was very good, but I think Barbara Mullen is as safe as house. Anyway, it's Maori for gramophone. It's a Scotch argument, and it's part of a scissors. Frank.
Janet, thank you. Well, we're of one voice here, aren't we? Oh, well, you're not, but
We're working well.
I don't see why scissors need a special bit. I mean, just drill a hole through the middle of the 2 daggers anyway. I mean, why would you need a special bit for those? You might, but His Master's voice, horn gramophone, big sound come out of dog listening to.
No mention of dog in this matter, box from which animal noises come.
Oh.
Maori.
David Attenborough's lunchbox. I think... And I could not understand all that. I'm going to go for this ridiculous Maori.
The Maori for gramophone, voice from which, etc. Patrick said it, true or bluff?
Can it be true?
What a pleasure.
No, got you there. Who gave the true definition? Here he comes.
Of course.
It is.
Yea, verily.
Well done, lad.
It's the bit in the middle of the scissors that keeps the two halves together. Shalal is the next word, and Frank is going to tell us about it.
Shalal is tremendous fun. It's a noise which is produced, shalal, produced in Cornwall, round about the St Ives. Now, you may scoff. Round about the St Ives area, by banging together kettles and pots and pans in kitchen equipment, and you do it as a kind of mock serenade to married couples. Do we first have a shalal tonight? Tremendous fun, much better than the floral dance.
Right, so it's that, possibly. Peter Brough.
A shalal is a presentation outfit of clothes from a Maharaja to a servant for his appreciation of services rendered. Now, often this presentation outfit includes some item of jewellery that is included with the motif of the presenter.
Lovely. Now, what do you say, Angela?
Well, shalal is a rather imperfect form of scrap iron. Imperfect because it might be porous or pitted or damaged in some way, and therefore it would only be used for making park railings or something like that. It might help you if I told you that in the trade, shalal is also known as Dewsbury scalp.
Sounds good enough to eat, that, Dewsbury scalp. Anyway, it's scrap iron, I should say. It's a din from St Ives, and it's the presentation of clothes from a Maharaja. Patrick.
I cannot imagine even people round about Devon and Cornwall banging kettles together to celebrate.
I'm being inscrutable.
But not enough, probably. This old clo being handed on by a Maharaja. But people don't use old Dewsbury scalp for making nice railings with. They're liable to fall down. I know Dewsbury scalp. Yeah. I believe it's banging kettles together.
Well, now, that's what Frank said. Was that true, Frank?
I said it was.
Yeah! Yep, that's what it is. It's banging kettles together down there in Cornwall. 2-0 now. Slop Fall's the next one, and Jonathan Miller tells you.
Well, it's a 17th century insult, really, for someone who refused to wear the oak apple on Oak Apple Day, commemorating Charles II up the oak tree, and he was simply called a slop fall. The cry went out in the street, slop fall, slop fall. In fact, the actual rhyme went, slop fall, penny a rag, bang his head and Cromwell's bag. Only louder.
Well, now, Nerys is next, yes.
A slopfall is a simple safety device to stop a weaver from falling headlong into his loom. There's this sort of bit of rope or string or something, you see, hanging down, and he hangs on to it.
Falling into his loom?
Yes, falling into his loom, yes.
Loom?
Loom.
Loom?
Sorry, loom.
Well, slop fall seems to make sense. Slop.
Don't get lavatorial here. Anyway, you see, he can then hold on to this bit of rope and peer down into his loom and see what's happening to his woof or weft.
Please leave this in, brothers, as you would like to find it, you see.
Oh dear, oh dear. It's sinking fast. Patrick.
It's a very difficult word. We want no laughing at cripples. Because owing to my attractive impediment, I cannot pronounce any word that begins with SL. If I were to embark upon the pronunciation of...
Jonathan.
You would all
I think
fall...
it's Archie Andrews.
But you would all fall into it, because it's a kind of catnap. You would see me working away, perhaps forever. And your eyes would close. It's a... That thing there is a kind of little catnap.
Right, it's a sort of a doze or catnap. It's a term of abuse for people who didn't do right by the king at that time, and it's a safety rope for weavers. Peter.
Well, I'm delighted to see somebody has trouble with lip movement as well as myself, Paddy. But really, Charles II and Cromwell, catnap. No, Frank? No. I think I'm going to go for...
He's in a slot for.
Well, go, lad.
not the loo, but loo.
You're going to choose what the safety rope that weavers swing on or so.
Please.
Nerys, true or bluff? She said it. You've got it! Very good, very good. All she said was right. Every word of it. Ziralite is the next word, and Peter Brough will define it.
Now, ziralite, very interesting this, it's a holy brush, like a fly whisk, Patrick, now. And it's placed at the doorway of a temple in Hawaii. You got that? Now, a devout Hawaiian, before entering the temple, will give himself a total brushing down to rid himself of any earthly impurities. And that's what it is.
It's a sort of Honolulu brush, really.
You usually rely on Frank for that sort of
You send him home.
Jonathan,
Go home.
Jonathan, don't be funnier than the principals if you wish to come back. Right?
Mind you, it's fairly easy to be there. Oh! Damn it, Angela.
Ziralite is a rather charming thing, actually. It's a musical instrument. It's a small flute which comes from Persia. It has only a few stop holes on it so that the musician can play the flute with just one hand, leaving the other hand free to beat a drum or a tambourine or do a crossword or wave to his friends.
Yes? Now, Frank, your turn.
Arab word, ziralite. Ziralite. It's imagine a hockey match. The old Ascot girls of Ascot play against the old girls of Donegal. Now, when one team wins, in Britain, you see, you get discreet cries of, "Well bullied, Angela." "Well done, Pam." Like this. Not in Arabia. What you get is one sudden, shrill cry of exultation. Aye! That's a ziralite. What? It's
Excitement.
let me put it another way. What could it be? It's a sudden, sharp cry of pleasure in Arabic for that matter, by Arabian ladies. Or...
I think you started again. Going right.
It's a Patagonian eel basket.
I think you have to stick to the first thing.
It was a very interesting 10-minute definition.
Well, anyway, look, it's an Arabian flute you can play with one hand. It's an Arabian female's cry of joy, and it's a holy brush. Jonathan Miller.
Well, I mean, there was an air of desperation and panic, really, about what Frank had to say about Arab cheerleaders of one sort or another. And holy brushes, well, it's very hard to say one way or the other. But I think that the Arab root, shira, and the shiralit, I think probably is attached to a Persian flute, loosely, but nevertheless, I think that I will...
You think the Arab root's attached to the Persian flute? And that was Angela who said that. Or she didn't say that, but she said, yeah, quite, Persian flute, true or bluff?
But what I said wasn't true.
Now, I wonder if we'll find the Arab root attached to anything else. Who gave the true definition?
Let's have it.
It's an Arabian, oh dear, very near there, Jonathan, Arabian female's cry of pleasure, joy. 2-2, just right. Smerlin and Nerys, your go.
A Smerlin is a little tiny weeny something. It's an infinitesimal tiny weeny something. And whereas you or I would say absolutely nothing at all, in Devon they'd say nary a Smerlin.
Yeah. Right. Now Patrick has a turn.
A Smerlin. I did it.
FM, easy.
Thank you. A Smerlin. It's a delicacy to which the Shetland Islanders are absolutely devoted. If any of them... Smerlin is on today. They say yummy, yummy. Because it's a kind of clam. Now, this, you've got to be fairly hungry to take on a Smerlin. Because it's got an awful thing that hangs off the edge of it. It looks like a kind of engine driver's glove, a used old engine driver's glove. You don't eat the engine driver's glove used of Smerlin, but the inside bit is delicious.
Right. Jonathan, your go.
Well, I'll try and be as fleet and fluent as I can on the subject of the Smerlin, which is really just simply a very small nail which attaches the horseshoe to the front of the horse's hoof, and it's broken off at the tip in order to prevent the hoof from splitting.
Right. So they say it's an edible clam. It's a nail without the point for doing all that about the horse and the what, and it's a piece of something, a fragment. Angela.
Devon
Well,
and horses.
I mean, I come from Devon. I've never heard him say that, dear. Never. No.
You come up to London too much.
No. Oma says 'tis very small. We don't say it's Smerlin. So I don't think it's you. It could well be a small nail, because blacksmiths do have some funny names for some funny things. But I rather think that it has to be that disgusting clam.
That clam.
Yes.
Of which
Patrick spoke.
True or bluff?
What an extraordinary decision.
I know, isn't she clever?
And that's what it is. All that stuff about
news, I think.
Yes. It's 3-2 now, and we have Codham. Next, Angela, your go.
Oh, well, yes. Now, Codham is really a load of old rubbish. Oh. It's the bits, the broken bits and pieces, the offcasts from a pottery or from a brick kiln. And when the Great Central Railway was being built in the 1860s, huge mounds of Codham were sent down from the potteries at Staffordshire and were helped... I don't know why you're laughing. It was a very serious matter. It was helped to bed in the railway line, particularly on the section of track between Rudgley and Tamworth.
Thank you.
Yes? Now it's Frank's go.
Codham was a Jewish tribunal, one rabbi, 2 assessors to consider points of orthodox Jewish law. No women allowed to take part or even to be in the building, full stop.
Right.
Full stop.
OK. Now it's Peter Brough to have a turn.
Well, now, Codham is a simple guessing game. Perfectly simple. If you haven't got a coin or anything to flip and that sort, but it's rather like that. But you put a little pebble or whatever, one in each hand, and you guess which contains the coin on which you win. But there's one rule you must observe: you're never allowed a second go.
So it's a Jewish tribunal. It's old bits of pot, and it's a game. Nerys Hughes tells you now.
I'm sick of Angela Rippon always being right, so I'm just not going to totally discount her filling in of railway lines with rubbish. Now then, Peter. Yes? this game with the pebbles or sort of making up your own game. Yes. You were a little bit too sincere about it. You weren't playing sort of games with me. No, I think it's Frank. Yes,
Well,
I think it's Frank with his Jewish tribunal.
Yeah, he did say that. He did. True or bluff, Frank? Very Who gave the true definition of the word codom?
It wasn't flipping Angela.
For once, no. Peter Brough was quite right when he said it's that game we play guessing which hands. It has, it seems, a name, and that name is codom. Here we have Zool. Patrick defines it.
Because it's pronounced Sula. It's a heraldic name for the rook or the castle. You know the game of chess? Little square bit, little roundy square bit, kind of turret on top of it. Now, if you happen to be a German Graf with a Schloss overlooking the Rhine, one of these Sulas might even appear, if you're good enough to have one, on your heraldic shield. That's what that's about.
OK, right. So now it's Jonathan Miller.
Well, a Zool, in fact, is a unit in physics. It's an electronic unit. It's really rather like a hertz or a joule. It applies, in fact, to a unit of radiation, gamma radiation. It was first employed by a Polish physicist in the earlier part of this century. And it's simply become, Zulitzki, in fact.
Right. So, Nerys Hughes.
A zool is one of the earliest known rhinoceri. And, plural of a rhinoceros. And, the distinctive thing with one horn, just with one horn. And, that the early explorer, Hakluyt, well, he noted in his diary in 1599 that it could well have been some species of unicorn.
But anyway, you say that,
1899.
be that as it may, it's a rhinoceros. It's,
That's what explorers find these days.
have they done? It's a rhinoceros, it's an heraldic emblem, and it's a unit of gamma radiation. Frank Muir.
Yes, how very interesting. I don't think you'd call us a one-legged... No.
One-horned?
I retract. A one-horned rhinoceros, a zool. It doesn't zing, does it? Now, so, we're driven on to Paddy's interminable Zula, the rook, or Zool, the scientific term. If it's a scientific term, I should be very disappointed because it's such a dreary thing to put on the programme, Zool. So I'm going to choose Paddy's rook.
The heraldic thingy.
Have I been rooked?
Yes. Well, you'll learn now. True or bluff, Patrick?
Next, please.
Got it right again. It's that rook-like or knight-like object that you find on a coat of arms. Bitter oak is the next one. Frank defines it.
Briefly.
Vital oak is a flash of lightning. Not the fork lightning you get in B pictures and horror films. It's that one like a flashbulb, sheet lightning. They're totally harmless except to the nerves.
Right. Peter Brough tells you.
Well, now, on a man, a vita oak would probably not attract much attention at all. But on a woman, calls all eyes. Especially masculine, Patrick. Bulge with interest.
Talk to her, Peter.
All right? But you're so interesting, too. In other words, it's a torn or ragged upper garment.
Oh.
Now, a vita oak can easily be acquired by passing a shirt or a blouse through a mincing machine or by even sending it today to a laundry. And as a shirt manufacturer, I speak with authority.
Right. Angela.
Vitaroke is a really very unpleasant thing. It's a rather nasty, mushy, brown sort of mould that appears on the underside of the leaves of certain trees, especially willow trees. And if the willow happens to grow beside a pond or a river, and there are fish in the pond, eventually the vitaroke will slip off the leaves and drip into the water and, unfortunately, poison all the fish. Sad.
So it's a torn garment, a torn upper garment, it's mould, and it's sheet lightning. And Patrick has to pick.
Little puff for Peter Brough's shirt business seems to be out of place here.
Thank you, Patrick.
Enormous overacting with all this lightning nonsense, but if people that have a pond with vitaroke or vitaroke on the leaves, on the underside of the leaves, and don't cut down the tree if you want to preserve the fish, he'll be a very disordered home there, but it's that, without doubt, it's mould.
The mould. Ah, that was Angela. Were you? You weren't teasing again, I'm sure.
Looking far too happy.
Oh! Nope. Give us the true one quick, and we may get another one in. Who knows? Let's have the true definition, and lo and behold, there it is. It is a torn garment. Let's have the last word now. The last word is jussel, and we've got quite nice time for Jonathan.
Well, a jussel really is one of those very small waves that comes in between the larger waves. You know, they come in sequences of 7. And they're just those smaller waves which simply come and just cover the ankles rather than simply overwhelming one and sweeping one up the beach. Le jussel.
Now, I think fairly briskly, Nerys, if you will.
Jussel? Yes, it's a hodgepodge of meat. In medieval times, they made it into a sort of a pot, and just the thing for ye old shepherdsy piesy.
Right. Now, Patrick?
Jussel is once again, a heraldic device.
Lovely. Oh, you can say some more, aren't we?
A sheet of corn, tied by a little thing in the middle of it. If you see a jussel worn on a shield, it doesn't mean that the wearer is illegitimate.
Right.
It means he's the second son.
I just want to give them time to guess.
Legitimate second son.
Okay, well, it's a small wave. It's the meat that used to be minced up, and it's another heraldic device. Peter, choose instantly, almost.
Instantly?
Please.
Really? Quick?
Yep.
Nerys.
Yeah. Ah, I wonder. She said the mincemeat.
Neary.
Nerys, no.
Well, that's a term of endearment, Nerys.
Nerys.
Neary, my dearie. Will you give us the is it true or bluff?
You're smashing me.
Robert, my dear. Oh, you didn't do very well.
Done it right. Very good. Very good. I'm afraid they beat them out of court. Yes, indeed, Nerys was quite right.
Nerys, I'm sorry, he was right.
Oh, don't.
Yeah, the mincemeat that went into these old-fashioned pies. So 7-2, guess who's won? Yes, Frank Muir.
Oh, look at them beaming.
Have some more three-legged runners from the OED next time. Till then, goodbye from Jonathan Miller, Peter Brough, Nerys Hughes, Angela Rippon, Patrick Campbell, Frank Muir.
Good night.
And goodbye. Good evening. This is Call My Bluff, where the tall stories are dropped from a very great height. That is to say, Frank Muir.
Good evening. My first guest is an actress who appears but rarely unhappily on this programme, an actress of considerable power and beauty, Prunella G. Won't mention beauty with my next guest, but you know his face because he presents Omnibus. He's also head of Music and Arts Department, Humphrey Burton.
And the man who actually quarried the Blarney Stone, Patrick Campbell.
My first guest is, remember, half my size, but 4 times lovelier. Hannah Gordon. And my other guest has come kind of clean and dry ashore from Warship, who should be but Bryan Marshall.
See what happens. I ring that and we get more thrumble. That's what we get all the time here, a lot of more thrumble. Anyway, it's the first word, and what's going to happen is this. Frank Muir and his team are going to define more thrumble 3 different ways. 2 of the definitions are false, 1 is true. That's the one that Patrick and co are going to try and pick out. So have a whack at more thrumble, Frank.
More thrumble is a regional name for a bird. It's, generally speaking, nationally, you might call it a bittern. It's once bittern. It's don't stamp on me, Robert. It's early in the game. It's a sort of second cousin of the heron family. It has been supposed, though I don't think totally verified, that the thrumble bit is an onomatopoeic echo of the kind of thrumbling, drumming noise that a moor thrumble makes in the spring when it's a bit lecherous. Bitter. Bitter.
Right. Now it's Humphrey Burton to have a go.
Moor thrumble is actually a verb, to moor thrumble. It's one of many colourful euphemisms like to pop and to visit the uncle or to hawk for the word to pawn. And in fact, the word has a theatrical derivation. It's rather like doing a Bunbury. Because to moor thrumble is so named after the principal character in the Restoration comedy, The Bride of Aldgate, in which the principal character, the leading lady, is an indigent lady, always out of money, called Molly Moorthrumble.
Yep, well, now, Prunella G.
Well, here's one for the sailors, so we can find out whether Bryan knows his stuff. Moorthrumble is a mariner's verb, and it means to unravel a rope by untwisting it and separating the strands. There is even a mariner's gadget called a moorthrumbler, which consists of a hollow cylinder containing a hook. This makes the business of moorthrumbling easier when done by hand.
OK, well, that interesting word means to pawn something. It's a local word for a bittern, and it's to unravel rope by mariners. Patrick.
Well, speaking for the first time in public as a former member of the Irish Marine Service, Chief Petty Officer, where we were winding rope in and out all the time, without the use of the word more, you could have called it more trumble. Never in a million years. So, nobody's going to call a bird, trumble, saying, brum, brum, brum. I'm for it. I think it's a kind of pawnbroking word, really. I believe.
That was Humphrey Burton who said that. What now, true or bluff?
Let's see it loud quickly.
Now, who gave the true definition of moorthrumble? It's a ridiculous word for a bitten, or vice versa. Quafer is the next one, and Patrick will define it.
If you want to have a comb, which is a quafer, you take a little piece of wood or a piece of bone and cut down, chop, 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 chop. You can finish up with a quafer. If a comb in the hair with, or if you made a good quafer, of sticking in the back hair.
What is it? It's a comb. Well, why call it a quafer?
It's a delicately handmade, fine kind of, rather elegant comb.
Thank you.
And thank you for listening.
And now Brian Marshall tells you.
A quafer is a pane of glass, which is cut to fit into the segment of the glass over a front door. It's cut in the shape of a piece of cheese or a piece of cake. And it's only fair to mention that in some parts of the country, the quafer is also known as a shale, S-H-A-L-E.
All right, now, Hannah, your turn.
A quafer is a verb, and it describes the beak action of a bird at feeding time.
A bitten. Bittens do it.
I'd rather not say. If you observe very closely a bird at feeding time, you will observe that it makes, first of all, a stabbing motion with its beak, and then it proceeds to mumble rather than masticate its mouthful. This natural activity is known as quavering.
Or more thrumbling.
Well, yep. So it's a pane of glass, certain shape. It's a handmade comb, and it's a bird. I know whether bitten, ducks, all kinds of things. Eating, the action of the beak when eating. Frank, your go.
We're all of one mind here except me. Quite honest. Quafer sounds too much like coiffeur, unless it's meant to, unless it's right. In which case it would make sense, wouldn't it? Pane of glass, I don't think. No, we agreed on that. No pane of glass. No, that's not it. A piece of cheese and whatnot. No. What about the bird, though? Yes, we choose the comb.
Now, the comb was spoken of by Patrick, who will now own up whether he was truing or bluffing.
This game got all kind of rotten. At last, a little mad
No, not a comb, but what?
This pane of glass.
Here he comes. Who gave the true?
To be shy a little.
Ah.
On to 7-1.
Quafer is the action of a duck or thereabouts, mumbling its food and so on. 1-1, very nice. Now, mung. Humphrey, your go.
Well, mung's an American slang adjective, which has the meaning of confused or contradictory or obscure or perplexed. And given our concern these days with American politics, it shouldn't come to you as too much of a surprise to know that the word mung, like the word bunkum and the word filibuster, is regularly used to describe and to define the action in America of certain types of political statement. Mung.
All right. Now, Prunella.
Mung was the unusual currency of Zanzibar and of parts of Somaliland until about 1825. I say unusual because it was made of cloth, squares of a canvas-like material, which was used as a basis for barter. Hence, a shrinking pound when it rained.
That's very good. Yes. Now, Frank, top that.
Speak. You're being mung now, are you?
No, I'm munging. It means to pull faces. Country word for to pull faces.
To mung.
That's all you... certainly.
That's all I have to say.
Right.
Going into.
Fairly convincing. It was cloth currency, pulling a face, or the state of being confused. So, Brian Marshall picks one.
Well, I think as far as Frank's is concerned, he was pulling the wrong sort of faces for me. I really don't think it's pulling faces. It's a bit too close to mugging, I think.
Only faces I've got.
So we have Humphrey with American slang. Well, I'll be brief. I think that it was bunkum, and I think that Prunella gave us the true definition, which was the cloth money.
Yes,
however unlikely.
she did say that. Prunella, were you telling the truth?
Rather smirking face.
Was it all a bluff? Yes, she looks... Does she look well pleased? Who can tell? That's Sphinx... Ah, there we go. Cloth money. Well, no. Who gave the true definition? It's there. He did it.
It's a word often used, and I've never heard it before.
All that stuff about it meaning confused and in the state of confusion is true. Lycorn, you pronounce it all umpteen different ways, I don't doubt. Bryan Marshall.
Lycorn is once again slang, and it's American slang. It's the language of the New York docker. The definition is slightly contradictory in that it's derived from a leather-lunged dock superintendent, Lazarus Lycorn, whose tone of voice was so stentorian that he didn't need a Lycorn when he was addressing his men.
Yes. Right. Now, Hannah Gordon.
The Lycorn was the ancestor of the modern howitzer, being a short-barreled, large-caliber field gun. And it was much used during the Peninsular War, when Frenchmen, having these fiery missiles launched at them, would stand back amazed and say, Mon Dieu, qu'est-ce que c'est que ça?
You stopped. You made me hypnotised there for a minute. Now, Patrick.
And Lycorn was a dwarf and a hairy, extinct elephant. It once roamed the plains of Siberia. When they dug up the remnants of a Lycorn, they found it to be round about the same size as a horse. And after they analysed where the contents of its tum-tums, it found that it wasn't a people eater, but just a veg muncher. That's what a Lycorn was, and still is in history.
You just got the ball there before it hit the ground, I think, Patrick. It's a very small elephant. It's a field gun, and it's a kind of a megaphone, something you shout through. Humphrey Burton.
Well, let's take the United States docker, first of all. I thought it was a very Lycorny, if I may use that phrase, definition. A horn and a corn, they all seem to come too close together for comfort, so I reject that. Mon Dieu, qu'est-ce que c'est que ça en France, en Espagne, rather? Didn't seem to me to have much to do with guns. I couldn't really get the sort of link between howitzers and Lycorns. On the other hand, hairy dwarfs seem to go frightfully well with our third panellist over there. And it seemed to me that the word Lycorn could perhaps go somewhere close to the word unicorn, and there could be some mystical connection between the two. And on the whole, even though it's a vegetarian, I plump for the munching Siberian Lycorn dwarf elephant.
Just marking up the plump one. Splendid. That was Patrick, wasn't it? He plumped for there. That was the dwarf thing. True or bluff?
You plumped for the wrong animal. Hey!
No, not a small elephant. Who gave the true definition? Here he comes.
Little innocent Hannah.
There. It was the field gun. It was the field gun after all, just what she said. 2-all. Burmany is the next one, and Prunella G defines it.
Burmany was a smallish, open, four-wheeled horse-drawn carriage that was popularised by the first Earl of Lonsdale. It was so named after Burmany Hall in Nottinghamshire, one of his lordship's minor seats, where the original Burmany was constructed to his lordship's specifications.
Yep. Right.
Was it?
Frank, your turn.
Burmany is really compatible with the word rhino. about 100 years ago. It's sort of, or pin money. It's loose change, but it originally meant it was a contraction of beer money. Well, you know, I'm putting it about to that effect.
Now, Humphrey.
Now, Burmany is actually a rather languid style of fishing, practiced, amongst other places, in the rivers or tributaries of the Firth of Forth in Scotland. And the technique of Burmany fishing is as follows. A line of stakes is actually driven into the river by the fisherman before he starts to do his fishing. And a rope is attached between these stakes. And the fisherman then can haul his boat along by the rope without, as he might put it, the tiresome necessity of having to row. Burmany.
Who?
So it's a kind of open carriage. It's beer money, or pin money, and it's hauling a boat along by grabbing hold of a rope. Hannah Gordon has to pick.
Oh, yes. I can't believe that any Scottish fisherman would be so lazy as not to row his boat, but have it pulled along. So I'm going to pass that one. Frank's... A rhinoceros came into your description, and then it was loose money and beer money, and
a slang term for money.
I just got mixed up because there was a rhino.
It's her turn to speak, Franklin.
Well, I'm not doing frightening well, so any interruption. And Prue's horse-drawn carriage, little horse-drawn carriage. I have a partiality for that, so I'm going to plump for Prue's horse-drawn carriage.
Another plump? That's two. Wait, no.
What?
It's just a private game I play.
Is it?
Good. Now, so Prunella, true or bluff?
I know by her face.
Did you
I
plump
wonder,
right, or
can
did
you tell?
Plump wrong?
Ah!
It was my fault. I should have lost.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't.
Two wrong plumps so far. Who
Wrong
gave
plump.
the two definition? It's there. It's there.
With apologies for the Scottish accent.
There you have.
I just won't
You go fishing. You go fishing by tugging the rope that you've already strung across the little things you stuck there. And now you've got, oh dear me, what accents we can look forward to. Fairly Kloots. And Hannah, it's your turn to kick off.
Well, we're staying with Scotland rather a lot tonight because this is a term of endearment. Fairly Kloots is a term of endearment from the Scottish Highlands. And we rather suppose that it's derived from the Gaelic. And gentlemen in the audience, or with us here, are invited to test this with any Scottish lady if they whisper to them very quietly in their ear, "My good, you're a bonny wee Fairny Kloots."
Yes,
I wouldn't stare.
I don't know, it's worth a try. Patrick, his go now.
A number of lithe young gentlemen faced with the fearful boredom of yet another game of leapfrog thought to improve it by asking for their friend Fred to bend over and placing in front of Fred a little line of stones. So just as a change from a leapfrogging Fred, you've got to clear the line of stones as well. The strange thing was a kind of early Victorian game, but the line of stones was called the garter.
What else?
It was called not always Fairny Kloots, but Fly the Garter.
He's taken your fancy, Patrick. Let us move on now to Bryan. His go.
If you should ever find yourself on all fours or even laying down in a field that contains sheep or goats,
Very unwise.
and were slightly worried about their attitude towards you, and they reassured you by giving you the thumbs up, they would be exposing their ferny kloots. Because ferny kloots are 4 corn-like bumps, one per leg, about 3/4 of the way down the leg, which are presumed by naturalists to be rudimentary thumbs. Sheep or goat thumbs.
So it's a kind of an endearment. It's an improved game of leapfrog, and it's bumps or lumps on a goat's leg. Prunella, you have to choose.
Well, we've already discovered that Hannah doesn't know as much about Scottish affairs as she might like to make out, so we can dismiss her. No, wrong. Corn-like rudimentary bumps. I suspect, well, it could be that. However, the new improved leapfrog is so bizarre and such a wonderful idea that, yes, I'm going to suggest it's that. In fact, it is.
You're going to suggest it's that. Right, Patrick, she suggested it was you. True or bluff?
Oh, no, it isn't.
Oh. No, fairly kloots must be something else. Who gave the true definition? Aha! There it is. It's what's on a goat's legs. Fairly kloots are what's on a goat's legs. 3-all. Ah, splendid. Here we have a word. Alerian, and Frank Muir will define it for us.
Here's a fun one. Alerian. Alerian is what physicists call the centre of gravity of the Earth-Moon axis. Now, as you know, the Earth is 81 times the size of the Moon, so the centre of gravity must be inside the Earth's circumference. And the Alerian is, in fact, between 190 and 204 miles below the Earth's crust, depending on the time of the year.
What were you laughing at when you were telling us that?
Laughing at what you're going to guess as the true answer.
Laughing at his cool nerve, I don't doubt. Humphrey, Burton, your go.
No, an Alerian is actually a classy and a classical name for something quite as simple as a document case. An Alerian, in other words, is a portfolio, a portefeuille. In fact, among the exhibits at the recent Pompey exhibition at the Royal Academy were the tattered remains of an Alerian made of crocodile skin. It was probably the property of some patrician from Pompey, and historians have demonstrated that, in fact, this Alerion, I must get the pronunciation right, still had its stamped initials faintly visible upon the right side. Thus is the mystery and magic of history made visible to our day.
Well, when you said patrician at Pompey, it made me think of Portsmouth. I can't
But I
think
didn't
why.
say Bluff.
No, you didn't. -1. Now, I think it's Prunella's turn.
Yes, it is. An Alerian is an odd-looking bird. But it's not this sort of odd-looking bird. It's an odd-looking bird that appears upon a coat of arms. It's an eagle that is depicted without a beak and without claws. This totally disarmed raptor is a feature of French heraldry, notably upon the armorial bearings of the ancient House of Lorraine.
Nonsense.
Okay. Well, you never know. You never know. It's an eagle on a coat of arms, it's a portfolio, and it's the centre of the Moon and Earth's gravity, which seems to vary. Patrick.
Well, a birdless, eyeless, clawless eagle representing a briefcase made out of a faded crocodile. Well, Humphrey is supposed to be an expert on cultural matters. You got a bit mixed up there, I thought, in your a totally confused definition of that lot. Well, it has to be some kind of nonsense like Frank was. No, it's a blind eagle.
Now that was Prunella. I wonder now, true or
I
bluff?
never said anything about not having eyes. Do you want to change your mind?
No, thank you, no. Is it too late?
It's not too late to change your mind.
Let's hit the card first, then change my mind out.
You played this game before, Patrick. You had too old a hand there, Prunella. Oh, dear me. Yes. Now, I rang the bell, and there we got discum, and Patrick's going to define it.
A discum is a specific gastronomical posture. if you want to dine, or if you wanted to dine in Roman times, you want a kind of three-seater couch to lie back on. If you were to enter any London restaurant, even Manchester restaurant these days, and said, could we have 4 nice discums, please? By occupying the space occupied perhaps by 40 people at 10 quid a head. They say, sorry, sir, no discums here. But that's all it is. It's a kind of reclining for dining.
Right. Now, Bryan has a go.
To discum is a rather messy business. It's the action of a pipe cleaner or a sink plunger or a ramrod or even of a dose of salts. To discum means to unclog, to rid or purge a system of unwanted obstructions and waste.
Hannah, your turn.
In advanced mathematics, a discum is a certain product. It is the product of the squares of the differences between any 2 roots of a quadratic equation. Now, if I had a blackboard and a piece of chalk, I could get up and... No, Frank, will you please sit down? But unfortunately, I haven't. So it is a...
So it means the action of unclogging something. It's a mathematical term, and it's to lie at table rather than to sit. Frank?
This de-scum, meaning to turge, it's a bit too much of a coincidence, even if true. But we put that to one side. I'm supposed to be making notes here, and I've written discum against all 3 of you, which is it's whether it's the sofa or whether it's
Advanced math, quadrant.
Advanced math. Oh, I couldn't understand that.
No.
Couldn't understand that.
Shall I say it again?
Well, it wouldn't help.
It's an accuracy, learnt it, you know.
And Patrick's Roman sofa. That's the one. Yes.
That's the one you're going to pick, is it, Frank?
Well, I'm going to try.
Yeah, why not?
Well, I'll select.
Patrick,
yes.
you did say it. True or bluff? Was he having you on? As so often?
Being told by knowledgeable Humphrey Burton that that's it. He was dead right.
I don't know whether this has ever happened before, but we've run out of time with the thing standing at an absolute draw. It wouldn't have been nice to have a quick one, but we can't really fit it in. So, well, how pleasant, how friendly to end on this note with them both getting clapped. Both of them have won, or both of them have lost. Look at it as you will. So we'll be back next time with more words we've been paid to tow away from the Oxford English Dictionary. Until then, we'll all say goodbye and begin with Humphrey Burton. Bryan Marshall, Prunella G, Anna Gordon, Frank Muir, Patrick Campbell, and goodbye. Good evening. This is Call My Bluff, which means a short trot with a cultured mind. That is to say, Patrick Campbell.
Good evening. If I even think of the name of my first guest, as she's not here, I go all soft and trembly. But when she is here, I can barely articulate her name, Hannah Gordon. And the other lad, a good brisk Matelot, called Bryan Marshall.
And still dealing them off the bottom of the pack, Frank Muir.
I, on my part, am again flanked by the delectable and talented Prunella G. And the handsome and talented Humphrey Burton.
And lo, the bell. And it gives us two prizes. One, Loon Slat. And as you recall, I suspect you will recall, Patrick Campbell and company are going to define Loon Slat three different ways. Two of the definitions are false. One is true. That is the one that Frank Muir and his team tried to pick out. So what about Loon Slat, Patrick?
A loon slat is an Isle of Man cowshed.
Thank you.
If you have a cow on the Isle of Man,
You're going to go on.
and a rain dashing down, you want to make a little house for it. Called a loon slat because in the not too widely spread Manx language, loon is cow and slat is shed. So joined by a hyphen, you get a little cowshed.
Pretty convincing, yes. Now, Bryan Marshall tells us.
Idea.
Loon slat is a marker that's stuck in a sandy beach as a guidepost to horse-drawn traffic. It's a Lancashire word. Original loon slats are to be found in Morecambe Bay, where at high tide the stagecoach has to splash through shallow water and the moon slats help it not to fall into deep water. They're warning marks.
All right. Now, Hannah Gordon, what does she say?
In the 17th century, the in-word amongst, here we go again, Scottish thieves was, I've forgotten what I was going to say.
Loon slat.
That's right. It was the in-word among Scottish thieves for a half-crown. And the value in those days was approximately 13.5 pence. And you might like to know, it might help you to know, that one loon slat was the sum payable to the hangman for his services.
So, right, it's a cowshed on the Isle of Man. It's a guidepost, originally from Morecambe Bay, and it's a Scotch payment. Yes, Frank.
Mr. Burton's pointed out something very interesting, that you can actually see Morecambe from the Isle of Man on a clear day.
If you're wise enough.
And you can see the Isle of Man from Morecambe. Isn't that a fantastic coincidence, Robert?
That
It really bouleverses me, Frank.
I'm sure. But which is the answer? Scottish thieves' jargon for half a dollar. Loon slat. Stop the loons. No, you've got to stop the loons walking into the sea, so put a slat in the sand. It's a bit, isn't it?
Take the time.
Isle of Man culture. We think it's a Scottish... We think it's the Scottish thieves' cant word that Hannah Gordon enunciated so beautifully.
She did it beautifully. She will now own up. Have you scored a bullseye? Was she teasing you? Draw a bluff, here you go. Proves that great principle that sometimes it is Scottish thieves' cant. Not every time by any means, but there was that time. Yekisters, I suppose I would say if I had to. But still, it's up to you, Frank.
Well, Yekisters is a lovely word, isn't it? It's rather long, but and it's rather ancient, and it meant a specific time of day. Now, had John Ford had an ear for old words, he might have called his Gary Cooper movie Yekisters. But no, he yielded to modernism and called it High Noon.
Yep, understand why, really. So now, Humphrey, what do you say?
Well, a Yekistus was a member of a 13th century religious sect, a sect which in rather an artful way made sure of getting to heaven, because a Yekastas was a devout worshipper who nevertheless declined under all circumstances to be baptized until he was on his deathbed. The reasoning was that as he was unlikely in that case to commit many sins after he'd been baptized, he should, with a fairly reasonable chance, confront St. Peter with a clean bill of health. A Yekastas.
Right. Prunella.
Yekastas is a common wayside English flower, and it's probably better known as the cuckoo pint. This flower secretes a special juice which is particularly helpful in the treatment of bovine dermatitis. Now, what happens is that if you mix the juice with salt and some fronds of stubwort, it's a sort of hubble, bubble, toil and trouble type activity, you will soothe the sores on a cow's back.
So it's a kind of late baptism. It's midday, and it's the cuckoo pint. Patrick.
I can't imagine anyone living their entire life calling themselves a Yekastursi. With the last gasp before they're gone, it's only Yekastursi. Fairly cumbersome faith, that one, I don't imagine.
It didn't last long.
It died out, did it? Yes, with the last Yekastursi.
Don't help him, Humphrey.
Bovine. It must be Frank's nonsense about John Ford and High Noon. Is it?
You're choosing it.
Yep.
You've gone.
Oh, no.
You've gone. You've chosen. It was Frank. Said it was midday. Something that's all true or bluff.
Hum the tune if I could remember it.
I'm getting good and tired of that thing.
Nope, nothing like that. Own up. Who gave the truth? It was she.
Didn't even mention it.
It was the cuckoo pint. That's what that means. And now you have Merry Tot, and Brian Marshall tells you about it.
A Merry Tot is a club, not the sort that you join, the sort that you knock people on the head with. It was used by Maoris. Happily, it hasn't been wielded in anger since the Treaty of Waitunji in 1840. The Merry Tot varies in length from 12 to 18 inches according to the tribal status of its owner. It's hewn and shaped out of hardwood, whalebone, or greenstone. It's a kosh.
Right. Now it's Hannah Gordon's go.
Merry Tot is a simple sport that children play in a belfry by swinging themselves on bell ropes. Now, a prolonged session of this can induce in small children a state of giggling hysteria.
And deafness.
And it can, on occasions, make a merry tot merry.
Oh.
Naughty girl.
Slots together, doesn't it, in a way? Patrick.
If a merry tot gets loose in a brewery or distillery, it's the kind of that can't wait to get at it before it's properly fermented or distilled. The French mar, which is made out of kind of crushed the stalks of vines. Your merry tot is cauterized at the tongue. A merry tot that can't wait to get at it because he wants some fun, some instant fun to break out. Thank you.
Okay, so it's a Maori truncheon or thereabouts. It's swinging about on bell ropes in children, and it's someone who can't wait to get at the drink. So, now, Humphrey, yeah.
I think that Patrick's married too soon to be merry, perhaps. I'm being French as well as English here. Doesn't, to my mind, ring quite so true. And I thought that really Hannah dropped a bit of a clanger with all that bell swinging, because I don't think that really it's likely to be true. There's an awful coincidence about the pun on the word Maori and merry, I must say, which worries me a bit about this kosh over there, but nevertheless I think that is probably the kosher answer. It is, in fact, the Maori kosh.
It is it? Well, now, who was it? Yes, it was Bryan who said that. He has to own up now, true or bluff.
I should that. Hey,
No, wasn't that? What was it? Here it comes. 1, 2, 3, go.
Ding dong, ding dong.
Children swinging about on bells.
Not fair.
There's not a lot of it about these days, but, you know, just keep an eye on them. Maness is the next one. Humphrey Burton has a go.
Now, to maness. It's a verb. It's the action of a sycophant. It means to exhibit the appearance of high regard, to flatter with obsequious speech or conduct. The word first appears in late 17th century dictionaries. That it was said of the, as he then was, late Oliver Cromwell, that although in private he was sociable by nature, in the field of politics, and I quote now, he formed few friends and menaced no patrons. Maness. What are you looking at my paper for?
Right, now it's Prunella, you have a go.
Well, this one being a little bit complicated, I better take it slowly. Now, just as a priestess is a female priest and a manageress is a female manager, so a maness is a female man. It's a woman. Oh, frailty, thy name is Maness.
Oh, yeah. I thought there might have been a few sort of grace notes there, but no. Frank.
A maness was a lucky charm. A lucky charm. A severed hand, preferably of a murderer, and was dried and cured and kept. A murderous severed hand.
So,
kept what for?
Oh, kept...
The charm.
It's a charm, yes.
A charm.
It's a lucky charm.
Keeps away pixies and Irishmen.
Lucky. I'd sooner have them, I think. But anyway, but it's a lucky charm made out of a murderer's hand. It's a woman, and it's to flatter. Bryan Marshall chooses.
It's difficult.
I
think, as far as Frank is concerned, he showed his hand a bit too early.
They're all at it.
I can't quite... I mean, a lucky charm, when you've got a hand, what do? Put it round your neck, or what? No, I can't accept
You can use it for stirring soup or paperweight.
I know a lot of words for female men. In fact, I know quite a few of them. But I don't think I can accept the female man, if you'll pardon that bad turn of phrase. You know what they say about actors? I've got a feeling that it's the action of a sycophant. It's a flatterer, and I think it's Humphrey Burton telling the truth.
Yeah, he did. Humphrey Burton did say it. True or bluff is that? No, wasn't. Who gave the true one? I wonder if you believe it. Shall we believe it?
You won't?
Yes! A man-s is obviously a word for a woman, or it was, in time gone by. So now you get tupic. And, Hannah, your turn to define.
Well, tupic is a prehistoric art form that's unique to the islands of the Chagos archipelago. These islands are 1,500 miles south of India. Now, tupic usually takes the form of curves and circles drawn on seashells and stones. But so far, no one has been able to decipher these markings, but this is what tupic, in fact, means.
Right, now Patrick tells us.
In this last helping of Call My Bluff for the brief moment, I welcome back with open arms and a warm heart an old friend of ours, a Turkish
Fishing vessel?
No.
Official.
No, wait, who's doing it?
Give him a chance.
A Turkish ostler.
No.
A toothpick. It's got a head groom that looks after the stables of Turks. And we've had many of them before. We're knee-deep in Turkish workers here the last 10 years. And for the last time, perhaps he might appear again. That's what he is.
Yes, he makes a welcome return. Now, Brian Marshall tells us what he thinks.
One of the world's mysteries is where flies go in winter. What I'm here to ask is, where do Eskimos go in summer? They go to their toothpick. It's not a travel agent. The Eskimo emerges from his igloo as soon as the weather forecast seems right, and takes a deep breath and builds a toothpick. Just a frail shelter of stitched together sealskins, and he huddles in the shade of the watery summer sunshine and watches his igloo melt.
So it's it's an Eskimo summer house. It's a Turkish groom. Oh, lovely. And it's sort of prehistoric art thereabouts, yes. So choose, Prunella.
Well, if it's an Eskimo summer house, I wonder why I never learnt about it in my geography. I learnt all about igloos. I don't think it can possibly be true. Hannah's is very likely indeed. It sounds exactly the right word for the way you described it. So there's no way I'm going to go for you. It's Patrick's. It's a Turkish head groom.
Now, sometimes, of course, on this programme, a Turkish official turns out to be the true one. I wonder if this will be the occasion. Patrick, you did say, true or bluff?
We sacked this old lout years ago.
You've got to be very careful of the Turkish officials around here. No, wasn't that on this occasion anyway. So, who gave the true definition? Here it comes.
Igloo.
The Turkish
there you are. So it's an Eskimo's summer residence. Now you have butter ham, and Prunella will tell us all about it.
Butter ham. It's a fearsome-looking two-bladed axe, which is wielded in darkest Somerset. It has two curved opposing blades, each honed to razor sharpness. Now, because of this, users of a butter ham, when chopping logs, for instance, are very strongly advised not to place their head and shoulders in line with the back swing.
Otherwise, they hit themselves, you see.
See, it might... Yeah?
Who's doing this?
Yes,
you or her?
I thought it was self-explanatory.
It was, until he got in the way.
Yeah,
very reasonable precaution, Prunella,
yes.
Frank, your turn to speak.
Butterham unhappily comes from the northeast of England, and I can't do it. Can't do the accent. It's a second...